Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. With the passing of the Sebi order in the matter of NSE's co-location scam, levying large but to us not quite enough penalties on the 18 accused, which includes a penalty of 7 crores being levied on NSE itself, a penalty of rupees 5 crores on Chitra Ramkrishna, its former CEO and managing director, and also a penalty of rupees 5 crores on Anand Subramanian, her mentor and reported godman, and also the former group operating officer of the NSE. With this order of Sebi, the prosecution has now finally gained traction after many years of inexplicable delays in the investigation, which began a few years ago. The penalties levied by Sebi are paltry as compared to the size of the scam, which could potentially run into thousands of crores of rupees. The CBI, etc., are presently investigating it. The scam came out in the open after Sebi received various complaints in the matter of NSE's co-location and corporate governance, and also complaints about many other irregularities about certain stockbrokers availing of illegal dark fibre connectivity from an unlicensed company, because of which they are reported to have made hundreds of crores of rupees by way of illegal profits. So what did Sebi do when it got these complaints? An expert multifunctional committee was appointed by Sebi to examine the case. The committee in turn advised the NSE to appoint an independent external agency to conduct a forensic investigation into the entire matter. The NSE then appointed Deloitte to investigate the matter and to also investigate and look into the affairs and dealings of the NSE with various parties during the period 2009 to 2016. Deloitte was also asked to investigate the issue of the NSE providing a preferential data connectivity to certain preferred brokers, which earn them huge amounts of illegal profits to the detriment of investors and other market intermediaries and brokers in the securities market by violating the Sebi Act and regulations, and also by violating the SCRA. The focus of the investigation by Deloitte thus was: the first was investigation into the alleged connivance and collusion of NSE's employees with these stockbrokers who got a preferential access to the NSE servers, and the second, investigation into the role of stockbrokers alleged to have benefited from exclusive preferential access to the exchanges system, as also quantification of the illegal gains that they made because of this access that they had. The brokers who benefited immensely from this illegal preferred access to NSE servers were one GKN Securities and Way2Wealth Brokers, also called W2W. The Sebi inquiry, after receiving the investigation report of Deloitte, resulted in the following allegations and charges against the NSE and also against its former CEO and managing director, Chitra Ramkrishna. The first allegation or charge was denial of services to certain stock brokers by the NSE, resulting in discrimination to the exclusive benefit of GKN Securities and Way2Wealth, the two brokers who had been given exclusive data connectivity by giving the dark fiber cable. The second, non-verification of the vendor's license to establish such connectivity for those brokers. The vendor needed a DOT license to do so, but it did not have one, and NSE did not bother to look into it. The third, non-transparent mode of communication to the brokers by NSE. The fourth, W2W and GKN were allowed to establish exclusive connectivity to the NSE servers, which were denied to all others, and they made profits because of that. The fifth, a lack of a clear documented policy at NSE to conduct due diligence of service providers whose services it availed of. The sixth, preferential data access and treatment of the two stockbrokers, W2W and GKN, in various ways, which enable them only to reap enormous profits at the cost of others. The next, inconsistent and contradictory replies to Sebi by them, which is by NSE and by Chitra Ramkrishna. These were the charges that Sebi levied against these two, and of course all the others. So what were the charges against Chitra? Since Chitra Ramkrishna was the CEO of NSE during that period, the charges against her were similar to those of the NSE, clearly implying her negligence or collusion by which two stockbroking firms reaped tons of profits at the expense of other market participants. The CBI, ED, Income Tax Department are investigating how much were the illegal gains of these two brokers and how much did she benefit personally from such connivance or negligence. And the reports that have come so far from these agencies have been incriminating, explaining her imprisonment at the Tihar jail. Before we go forward, we need to understand a few critical issues. The COLO or the co-location facility is the data center facility offered by the stock exchanges to stockbrokers to locate their servers within the exchange premises to have what is called low latency, which is fast connectivity to the exchange servers. The broker servers located in the COLO facility provide live data feed to them and also place and process share trading orders by them. That's what a co-location facility is all about. From a broker's perspective, the faster he gets data feed and order processing done, the more money he makes, even if it means a split-second advantage in the speed of connectivity to the NSE brokers as compared to other stockbrokers. A dark fibre with reference to the network and server connectivity is an unused or passive cable which does not have data flowing through it, but it can be used to give direct connectivity between two servers. In this case, the dark fiber connectivity was of the two preferred stockbrokers and those of the NSE, and they had some exclusive data coming to it at their own speed. That is just what the NSE let GKN and W2W do, which is letting them install a dark fiber cable between their servers at the COLO and those of the NSE to get the fastest access to the NSE data, which no one else was given despite their request for the same. These were clearly the preferred stockbrokers of the NSE, helping them to make tons of money in an illegal manner. So what was Chitra's response to the charges which Sebi put against her? It is Chitra Ramkrishna who headed the NSE, and the buck stopped on her table for any wrongdoing, and thus her negligence or complicity in the COLO scam was the first to be investigated. Such illegal data connectivity to two stockbrokers would not have been possible without patronage from the top. Her submissions to Sebi to counter these allegations were that she says that she acted at all times with high standards of integrity and fairness, which ironically has landed her in Tihar jail. She then said that she honestly relied on the judgment, information and advice of the functional heads, employees, as well as the experts of the NSE, and that she had no reason to doubt their integrity, their skill and competence, or to doubt their motives in the entire matter. She said that the managing director and CEO cannot be aware of any and every singular activity happening within the organization, and that a fraud cannot be presumed at every juncture of its functioning. She further said that it would be absurd to assume that she ought to be on guard against the possibility of frauds being committed by these very persons who she trusted and who were also trusted by the NSE by their very appointment. She further said that Sebi has no material in support of these allegations. She denied allegations that the NSE failed to ensure that fair practices and policies were followed by the NSE in providing access to its members. Chitra further said that she was never consulted for operational issues whose decisions were taken by functional heads, and the wrongdoing of a team member cannot be blamed on her, particularly when the matters were not escalated to her level. She then said that Sebi's conclusion that these two brokers had arranged the cabling in the COLO facilities so that they were at an advantage as compared to the other trader members, and that such arrangement involved a collusion between the brokers, between NSE and the others, she says, is frivolous, unfounded in facts, and is grossly misplaced and baseless. Chitra said that she has had an unblemished career and that no allegations have been ever made against her by Sebi or by any other regulator, and that she has always discharged her duties to the best of her abilities with integrity in the past and has always looked after the interests of the NSE. She finally says that operational issues are bound to arise from time to time in an organization of the size and complexity of the NSE, and that cannot be a ground to penalize and punish parties. In other words, she passed the buck on to her juniors, or she said that she was never involved in these issues, so why should the blame come to her? The Sebi officer examined the submissions of Chitra Ramkrishna, and he held that while Chitra contends that she was not involved in the connectivity matters at the NSE, it cannot yet be denied that she was, however, the managing director and CEO of the NSE in charge of its day-to-day functioning. She had the responsibility of all decisions that were taken in the departments reporting to her. Being the managing director and CEO of the NSE, she therefore cannot absolve herself of the liability arising out of the malpractices, out of the fraudulent activities, and out of the lacunae pertaining to such sensitive matters as the misuse of the co-location facilities. The Sebi officer said that she was its managing director with complete control over its affairs, and she has to be responsible for acts committed in the organization with much higher responsibility and liability as compared to other directors. She was, after all, in charge of the affairs. Everybody reported to her, and she ought to know what was happening. The Sebi inquiry officer then said that she was in charge of the NSE and she was responsible for the conduct of its business, by stating that she does not have an understanding of complex technical issues and that such functions were being handled by her subordinates does not absolve her of her responsibilities. He says that she cannot escape from the responsibilities of any fraudulent action or any lack of any action or activities committed by the subordinate officers which lacks integrity and due diligence on their part. The order further says that she was bound to administer the stock exchange with professional competence, with fairness, with impartiality and transparency, and is responsible for the violations committed by the NSE, being its CEO and managing director. And she is also responsible for the fraudulent connectivity given to the two preferred brokers by which they made huge illegal gains. A penalty of rupees 5 crores was thus levied on Chitra by this Sebi order. The entire episode raises a question about whether the managing director and CEO of an organization is personally responsible for its malpractices, fraudulent conduct and lapses, or can she simply plead ignorance, blame her juniors and get away with it as Chitra tried? The fact is that CEOs like her are powerful executives who have had total control of their entities, and the buck in terms of both power and responsibilities stops at their table. If they are allowed to go scot-free with such flimsy and frivolous pleas, then there will always be a subordinate fall guy in the organization who will be crucified for the crimes of a powerful CEO, which Chitra was. Moreover, the COLO scam was not a one-off transaction that happened unintentionally or accidentally. It was deliberately done by design by the NSE team to benefit two brokers, and all this could have not happened without the collusion, connivance and information of the NSE team. It was a large and shocking scam that went on for many years. And then, even if Chitra claims that she was unaware of this scam which went on for many years, then too, she needs to be punished for her utter negligence and incompetence as the CEO of NSE, if not for being complicit in the malpractices which to us she apparently was. The investigations are continuing. The final results are not yet out. We need to see what was the size of the scam that was committed, what were those thousands of crores that those two brokers made, and of course, to what extent did the NSE team, including Chitra, benefit out of it. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.